Hi there, welcome to video number 5, looking at the black square King Air using X's and O's on the Stream Deck, and this time we're going to have a little bit of the X-Touch MIDI controller involved as well. So this is the panel over here that we're going to look at. So if we just move over there so you can see it in detail. This is really all about passenger comfort. It's about temperatures and the lighting and things like that in the cabin. So I'm going to work my way across sort of left to right and down in that direction so you can see what's going on. So the first switch here is the sort of luxury part, whether the coffee's switched on or not. I presume that's furnace, an oven or something like that. So it looks like it's a 3-position switch, but in fact it's a bit of a dummy switch that it only switches on one circuit. It switches on circuit 86. And again, I don't really think the coffee and oven are really detectable in the actual simulator. So if you've seen my previous videos, you know I've been using this technique on the Stream Deck buttons, where a short press I use a script to move a button up, and I use a long press to move a button down. But if you haven't seen it, I'll just go through basically how this works. So that's a normal quick click of that button there. We must make sure the repeat value is off. We don't want to hold the button down. I'm going to keep triggering this because we want the long press, holding the button down, to trigger this event here. So these are scripts that I've written in my in X's and O's in the scripts editor here. So I'm just going to filter for a script I've written called for the accessories. So we're going to apply that filter, and here's my up version, and here's the long press down version, so we can move the switch up and down. And I'll show you those scripts sort of bigger on here. So this is going up, so it's the ordinary press on here. It's going to look at this variable here, the cabin accessories, and if it's in position 2, which is the down position, weirdly enough, the off position, if it's off, move it to position 1 and turn on circuit 86. If it's in position 1, the middle, move it to the top, write the value into that here, so it changes that variable. We don't really need this because if we're going from the middle position to the up position, it's going to, the circuit's already on, but I put it there just to sort of make sure it happens. The down script, if you hold that button down for the long press, it's going to do the opposite. If it's at the top, move it to the middle, keep the circuit on. If it's in the middle, move it to position 2, so it goes down, and switch the circuit off. So that's what happens with the cabin accessories. The brightness one across here, that's the brightness of the cabin lights, and it's again a 3-position switch, but it really does work. It really will dim and brighten the cabin lights. To find out what's going on, I use this behavior tool that's in here, behavior tool, and I need to make sure that I'm working on the this XML file, the analog King Air, the one that Black Square wrote. So I've just done a search for it, just done a filter, and it automatically changes to the right script. And I have searched around for cabin lights. I've typed in enough for this filter to work, and this is what it shows me is available to me. And we've got all the various parts of it going on, and at first glance it looks nastily complex, that we've got various potentiometers to play with, but actually what we need to do is to control the lighting switch here. And as soon as I see that there's a B variable involved, I can make a fairly good guess that there's going to be an input event written that we can access and use. So what it actually ends up looking like for the cabin lights, it's a much simpler script. So again, we do this 3-position switch trick of short presses making the button move up. So we can use the input event for lighting cabin 2. If it's in position 2, move it to position 1, and that will make it in dim mode. And here we can write, if it's in position 1, move it to the top, and that'll be the bright mode, and it just works behind the scenes. It reads that and does what it needs to do. So the down version is just the opposite. If it's in position 0, move it to position 1. If it's in position 1, move it to position 2, and the cabin lights just do what you've said they should do. It works fine. Next one across. Where are we now? Let's move this out of the way. The cabin master. That's turning it, making sure we sort of control everything with master switch, which is just basically an on-off toggle switch that we're going to use. So if we go to my Stream Deck, this is the cabin master, and I'm using a toggle key. So what I've done here, just for my own sake, I've sort of color coded that if I'm using a key that is going to use both long presses and short presses, I've put a yellow background behind so I know how it works. If it's just a single press to toggle something, then I've just put a green color as the background, so I know this is normal and this is a warning, oh, it's slightly different. So it's a toggle. It's going to read a variable to find out whether it's on or off. So we're going to read an LVAR for the cabin master switch, that so we know the switch position, and it will run this script here to toggle it. So the cabin master actually controls 3 different circuits: 85, 109, 136. So this is the code here to change the position of the switch. So if it reads that and says it's in position 0, switch it over and move it to position 1. Because it's a scripting language, not a full programming language, although it's updated the variable, it's not going to read the variable again whilst it's in the script. So if this was 0, it will still think this is 0. And if we wrote that value directly into these switches, it would make them off. So we want to switch on these circuits, so we have to invert it here as well. Okay, it's slightly unusual. If you were used to a proper full programming language, you'd expect that if this has gone from 0 to 1, then this would now be 1. But it's not the case in this type of scripting language. So that's how we do the cabin master switch. Back here, in here, we are going to look at the temperature, basically, the environment here. It works in conjunction with this control here, whether we're going to have it off, or in automatic mode, or in manual mode. The manual mode, I think it works mostly with the electric heater. But to increase and decrease the temperature, we use this spring-loaded up and down switch. We're not setting an actual temperature as far as the real world is concerned. We're just saying up a bit, down a bit, and we can read the actual cabin air temperature over here to see where we are. Of course, it's not going to happen automatically. It'll kind of give us a target temperature. Behind that is a variable that is going to sort of set for us the target temperature. So it's a 3-way loaded switch, but I can't find out how to animate it to make it work. I'm going to use the Stream Deck event button, and again the short press is going to be up, that'd be the increase. And this is the script behind it. So it looks at the manual temperature setting, and it's going to check that we're not above 90 degrees already. We don't want to go too high and cook the passengers. So it sets a maximum value of 90. So long as it's below 90, take that variable, add 1 to it. So this is the reverse Polish notation, the RPN of the RPN script working. Here's one value, here's another value, add them together and write it back into itself. The decrease one is again setting a lower limit of 60. As long as it's above 60, look at the value, subtract 1 from it and write it back into the setting. Now, because I can't actually animate the switch, what I've done on my Stream Deck is I've put a text gauge. It's looking at that variable and writing it to here, so that when I press that button, if I press it, you'll see my temperature go up, or if I long press it, you'll see my temperature go down. So it's just giving me a reassurance that I have actually pressed the button and it's been registered. So you haven't got that in the real life. What you have got in the real life is cabin temperature display, and you've got that here, which is actually showing you the current air temperature on an analog gauge in Fahrenheit. You've also got, if I go over here, there is an electronic gauge of the cabin temperature, which can switch between Fahrenheit and Celsius by pressing that button there. So I've put that on my Stream Deck, a sort of toggle button here, so I can toggle that switch from my Stream Deck to see what it is, because I prefer Celsius, not Fahrenheit. I have to say, it's a generational thing. I was more Fahrenheit, but I'm now Celsius. But also, my main degree was in physics, so I prefer Celsius, funnily enough. Anyway, how does that work? Let's go back into here. This is the script, really simple. I'm using an event button rather than a toggle button. So just when I press it, as soon as I press it, it does that. It runs this script. So it's going to read the variable, flip it over and write it back in again. So it just flips between one and the other. Okay, so that's nice and easy. What's next for it? Let's go back here. We're going to start dealing with this area here. So manual mode, we use this temperature here. If you're in automatic mode, you've got a rotary switch to control the temperature. Again, it's not actually done in degrees or anything like that. It's just up a bit more and down a bit more. So we need to control these various switches. So they all work in conjunction with this vent blower. Which is here. So it looks like it's got a high, a low and an auto setting, but in fact, again, it's a bit of a dummy switch. The low one is with the circuit off, and the high and the auto just both have the same circuit on. So I haven't found any difference. I can't see where it's doing anything different. It's all about this circuit 140. So using the event button, the short call press calls the script to move it up, and it's the usual thing. If it's in position 2, move it to position 1. Position 1's the middle, so the circuit has to be switched off. If you then move it from the middle to the top position, the circuit's switched on. And then to go down, we're just going to reverse that process. If it's at the top, move it to the middle, switch the circuit off. If it's in the middle, if it's in position 1, move it down to position 2 and switch the circuit back on again. So this is the auto setting. And that's it really. This is the rotary knob to control the air temperature, and that is on a rotary on my X Touch. If I just go back into the simulator itself, if I turn the temperature of my MIDI controller, you can see it's moving the rotary around. So I have assigned it on the X Touch. If I turn it clockwise, it does the increase script, which is pretty much the same as the manual one was, although it's looking at the auto number and adding 1 to it every time I do a click in the clockwise direction. Strangely enough, looking in the behaviors file, it sets a different maximum temperature. It was 90 for the manual, it's 100 for the automatic. I don't think it really makes much difference, to be honest. And again, the anti-clockwise call, the limit is set at 50. We can take them down to 50 degrees if we wanted to, with this script here, subtracting 1 from it. And it's allocated in X's and O's here. If I just turn the cabin temperature, this is the decrease one, so it's going to call that script that I've written. And it's allocated here automatically. As soon as I turn the knob, it works out which device has changed and whether you're turning left or right. If I turn that cabin temperature, you can see it's working out whether I'm turning it to the left or to the right. So as soon as you get it set as you want, you press save, but I'm going to press cancel. The next mode, one of course, is the mode switch. It's this one here that flicks between the various states. So that's allocated in very much the same way as before, just on a different rotary. So we've got a clockwise and an anti-clockwise. Right. So the a clockwise call is going to make it increase the number, but it's limited to 3. We don't go above mode 3, and the decrease, the anti-clockwise, makes it subtract a number from the mode, but again making sure we don't go below 0. So they're the states, state 0, 1, 2 and 3. Bleed air valves, let's have a look at those. So what this does is it's going to open valves to take pressurized and warmed air off of the 2 engines. So we've got a switch for the left and for the right. Let's move the view down a little bit. When they're down, it's not going to bleed any air off of the engines at all. So both of the instruments and the cabin are off. If it's in the middle position, the environment is off, so it's not going to put warm air into the cabin or pressurized air into the cabin, but it will run the instruments, so the gyro and that need an air bleed to them, that will work. And if it's at the top, then we're going to get warm air and pressurized air coming into the cabin and run the instruments. So they're the various states that we need to do. So the usual thing that we're going to do here is using the Stream Deck. Short presses will move the button up, and just dealing with the left valve here. Check where it is at the moment. If it's at the bottom, if it's in position 2, we can then move it on up. It's only going to do the commands if there's electricity coming, basically if the circuit 78 is on. So assuming your engines are running, then we can bleed the air, and we're going to use a K event to bleed the air, but we're going to use an L variable to make sure whether the environmental part is of the bleed is active or not. So this bit here will be turning on the instrument feed, but this one will be turning off the cabin, and then it will move the switch, animate the switch basically. This is a slightly unusual format of this variable and writing into it. This bit here means expect to have two values given to you, and the two values are here. One of them is whether it's on or off, and the other one is the which engine number we're talking to. So it's not just saying on off, but we're actually going to use it to control a particular engine. If it's not position 2, we assume it's in position 1, so it's now going to move it to the top position. It's going to move it to position 0, and again it's making sure that it's going to bleed air, but this time it's also going to be allowed to bleed it into the cabin. So the disabled will be switched off, so that's now in the top position. And if you look at the right hand one, really much the same structure, but looking at the right hand engine, and this one here is engine 2 and circuit 79 that we're checking to make sure that that engine is running. Other than that, it's pretty much the same stuff. On the long press, that moves the switch down. So on the left one, it'll move, if it's in position 0, it'll move it, well, that will still be on, but it disables the environmental stuff, moves it to position. And here, if it's in the middle position, then we're going to switch off engine 1, so it's not bleeding air at all, and of course it's not going to the bleed will be disabled to the cabin. I haven't put on here the right valve, but I'm sure you can work out that we need to change this to an R, change the circuit value here, and change the engine number 2 that we're going to be working on. That's how the bleed air valves work. The stall warning test is down here. It's not really part of the environment, but it's in this panel. So it's basically a spring-loaded test switch. If I hold it up, it'll sound the warning. Just make sure that the warning is working. So we use a slightly different technique because it's a spring-loaded switch on my Stream Deck. So I've got a slightly different colour for it to warn me it's an unusual switch. And we're going to use, you're going to write directly to the variable. We're not going to need a script for it. When our finger is on the button, then this variable here, the stall warning test, is down, and it's a 1, and that will move the switch up. No repeat. There's a key up event, so as soon as I take my finger off the key, it's going to write the 0 into that position there. So if I show you that working, if I hold my finger down on the key on the Stream Deck, as soon as I let go, it releases the spring. And that's the name of the variable here. That's what we're looking at there. The blower, so we've looked at the front blower. The aft blower is just a toggle. It's just an on-off switch. It hasn't got highs or lows or anything like that. It's just on-off. So it's relatively simple to do. It's a toggle switch. And we're going to read that variable here, the aft blower switch, to find out if it's on or off. And here's the script for it. So just invert the value, and also invert the value and write it in here to this into this circuit here. So we're going to turn on or off circuit 139. Let's go across a bit more. This electric heater, again, it's a toggle. Using exactly the same method, a toggle switch with this script. And that's the variable we're using, the electric heat switch. And it's circuit 138 for that one. The next thing we need to look at is this here, the fire test. It is a 5-position switch off down here, and it's testing on the left hand side whether the extinguishers are available, and on the right hand side whether the detectors are working. And if I sort of show you that in operation, if I get out of here, I'm trying to find a view that you can see everything that's going on. Let's get rid of that. It's a bit hard to see from here. Black on black makes it a little bit difficult, but I'll try to move the mouse carefully. What we're looking at are these LEDs up here and the annunciator. So we need some external power. We'll power that up. If I move the switch around, I'm going to look at the right extinguisher, and you can see that the lights that's come up here. And oops, switch it around again. Now we're looking at the left extinguisher, and that's okay. Go around the other side. There's the engine fire detector coming up, and here, and it also lights up the annunciator here. So looking at the left, the right, whether the extinguisher is available or not. Okay, so that's what we're going to emulate. It's again relatively simple to do. For just drop the pen around. Again, I've allocated it to a rotary switch on my X touch, and turning it clockwise, it's going to look at the fire test mode, and we're going to make sure that we're above 0. And moving it clockwise is going to take subtract 1 from the mode, and so yeah, moving it clockwise does that. Anti-clockwise, again, make sure we don't go above 4, and add 1 as every time we click the button around. So fairly simple to work. Quite complex behind what's going on, but that's the fire test. Again, part of the environment is these valves here that can be pulled in and out, and there's 2 on the co-pilot side and 2 on the pilot side that can be pulled in and out, and they're variable. And this one is pilot air, and this is the defroster. And really, they're all controlled by a passenger cabin air variable, and they work from left to right. 1 is the pilot, 2 is the defrost, 3 is cabin air, and 4 is the co-pilot. And I've written a script for each of them. I've got an increase script. This is the example for cabin air 1. It adds 10% to the position, and it automatically won't go above 100, and it won't go below 0. We don't need to put any limits on it because it's an input event. That's one of the advantages of using these input events, is that they're designed for ease of use. We don't have to put limits on those. And here's the decrease script. So you can easily write a similar script for all the different valves that there are. In terms of the Stream Deck, I kind of ran out of room where I wanted to put them. So I've put them onto here. And what You can't really use the long press and short press method with it, because if you really want to be able to pull the whole lever out, so you hold the button down with the repeat switched on. So you can't use the long press on this. So I've actually created two separate buttons, one for the increase and one for the decrease. They're just event buttons calling the script that you've seen here. But you want to be able to hold your finger down so that it continually increases or continually decreases the valve. I'll show you that working. Let's get into the cockpit. So if I do the pilot air, but if I hold my finger down, like, you can see it's gradually working its way out. And if I press the other button, it's now closing the valve. I don't know if you can hear the little discrete click when it's fully open and fully closed. I'll be quiet and see if you can hear it. And I'll do the fully open one. Okay, so that gives you an indication that the valve is fully open or fully closed. We can do the same for the defrost air. So that's what I've done with those switches there. So that's really it for this sort of this panel here. Being absolutely honest, I cannot make this one work. I can't find out. Well, I can find the variable, but I don't seem to be able to make it work. The altitude high and low warning to silence it. Perhaps it's a good idea that you don't silence it. You want to know whether your altitude is your pressurization is failed or not. Okay, I'll see you in the next video, and we'll probably look at this bit here. We'll look at the pressurization system next.